Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Équinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Pablo Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, the divisional officer of Ndu, the Dongamantum Division, Northwest Region of the Republic of Cameroon, condemns violence inflicted on an individual in that locality by men in military, gendarmerie and police uniforms. The administrator is asking for investigations. He is also demanding that the perpetrators of that act of violence be punished according to the law. Tonight we're also going to take you down memory lane into the Ngarbu massacre, which occurred in the Ngarbu locality, still in the Dongamantum Division, Northwest Region of the Republic of Cameroon, the 14th of February 2020. Also, we take you out of the country to talk about the Ebola outbreak in Guinea. Several persons have been reported dead, and the World Health Organization is said to be on alert. Once more, thank you, dear viewers, for joining us in this edition of the newscast on Équinoxe Television. We begin this newscast in Ndu, in the Dongamantum Division, Northwest Region of the Republic of Cameroon. Videos have been going viral on the internet from that locality. A video showing an individual being severely tortured by men in military, gendarmerie and police uniforms is suspected. The victim is suspected to be a separatist fighter, and he's been asked to denounce his brother, who is also said to be a suspected separatist fighter. And the divisional officer of Ndu has condemned the act of violence inflicted on that individual and is demanding that the incident be investigated and perpetrators punished according to the law. Details in this report by Innocent Azim.
Of February 2021, the sun rises in Ndu subdivision in the Dongamantum division of the Northwest region. The day is calm and still cold. It will not be a good one for Jean Fai Mbongong. This innocent civilian, surrounded by a group of uniformed men from the National Defense and Security Forces, comprising gendarmes, the army, and the Special Police Unit, GSO, who torture him in a close to 10 minutes video with a machete mercilessly for not revealing where his younger brother, a suspected separatist fighter, is hiding.
Since how many times you know say your brother be humble? Stand. Oh, ne fais pas ça, hein. Ne me fais pas ça. Yes, donc. Since how many times today you know say your brother be humble?
Ouais. Veste.
Ça c'est le travail de la manœuvre tout à l'heure. Tu vas parler.
After pouring water on him, Bongong will be asked whereabouts of his brother. His reply, he does not know except for the fact he is in the bush, will not spare him from wrath of these uniformed men of the professional Cameroonian military.
It is stay for outside.
Yeah, no.
Okay, go. Il dit stay for outside. Applique, je laisse pas la douleur descendre. Il dit stay for outside.
It is painful, yet he absorbs the pain and calls Jesus not feared by the soldiers.
Il a fini, non? C'est moi qui chambon avant que.
When you have seen the police, n'est-ce pas? Yes. Why you run so?
Il dit stay for outside.
The soldiers derive pleasure as he weeps.
Talk your truth.
Ça hangue. C'est ce qu'on appelle la douleur. Ça pénètre.
Ça enter.
Ça hangue. C'est la chance. Manœuvre. Il te faut ça. Il te faut ça. Il te bouge pour ça.
One of them even labeled him an amber fighter, suggesting he should be killed like they do with their colleagues.
Les gens, c'est quand ils prennent un camarade, c'est la magie, je te jure.
Fouette-le. C'est comme ça.
These uniformed men took turns when the other gets tired. After beating him with the machete on the back, buttocks, one of them in military uniform continues. He chose the stomach.
Go. You stay for us, you stay for us. Tell me your ass.
He gets tired, and it is turn of member of the GSO police unit who beats the hell out of his feet non-stop for over 1 minute 30 seconds, assisted by his colleague. If he did not pass out, none of them would have spoken of mercy. But it is not known if he finally died after the video regarding his helpless and quiet state. In a note, the divisional officer from Do subdivision urges the gendarme and army commanders, including the police commissioner from Do, to investigate the act with disciplinary and legal actions taken against the torturers. Information Équinoxe Television is yet to independently confirm says the uniformed men have been arrested.
Quite a tragic incident there in Ndu in the Donga-Mantum division, and we stay in that part of the crisis hit northwest region of the country to talk about the Garbo massacre. 1 year after that incident occurred on the 14th of February 2020, and 12 months after that incident, the area remains deserted, and some victims told a report in the northwest region that the debris of their houses destroyed, set ablaze during that incident, continues traumatizing them. And the governor of the northwest region, Adolf Lafrique, has embarked on efforts to restore life there, but the site of the incident remains deserted. A correspondent in the northwest region, Bustela, was there and now reports.
This is what is left of this once vibrant community. It is now deserted. The remains of abandoned food stalls, burnt houses and graves are the only signs people once lived here. This is Ngarbo, 12 months on. At least 22 people were killed, among them women and children. The 4 affected families conducted mass burials. Here lies other victims of the Ngarbo incident of February 14, 2020. And this storm is a woman who was pregnant, her child and a man. In this locality of Ngarbo, there are 3 others, adding to these to be 4, constructed by the government of Cameroon in memory of those who were killed. The images of what happened here 12 months ago are sealed in the minds of the victims. Fry Edison D is still devastated. He lost 9 members of his family.
Sleeping in the night, we got shooting. After we discovered fire, we wanted to come out. After the lock we in the door, even me, I come out through window. My small brother come out through window. My mother's called kitchen. In the house, they shoot you with gun, and my sister, and saw from my brother and another sister with a baby in the hand, baby which is only 2 weeks. They shoot with a gun and burn with fire. My brother, they are already now outside. I didn't know where they are now. So I'm talking now with tears because I lost over 9.
The Defense Ministry had shifted from the initial position of denying the army was involved in the Ngarbo killings after the Commission of Inquiry published their findings. The government also resolved to exhume the corpses and give them decent burial, a request rejected by the people on grounds that it was going to be disturbing. Here, a family of 9 were asleep when the unfortunate incident of February 14, 2020 happened here in Ngarbo. 9 of them were killed in this house and buried here in a single grave. 1 year after, the government has constructed 4 monuments like this one to remember these victims.
Garbu 3 is almost empty. Many fled and are yet to return. They are yet to bury the past.
In Garbu now, I am not able to go there because when I go there now, I will feel pains. Remember my mothers, my sisters, and the chickens that they burn with fire. It will be worrying me.
Recently, regional authorities landed in Garbu, the place of the tragedy. They performed ceremonies at the graves to pay respect to those whose lives were cut short. The government is making sure that the terrible event of February 14, 2020 don't change Garbu forever. They brought support to rebuild the lives of the victims.
But he also decided to assist the bereaved family with money to rebuild their houses and to compensate the crops and the animals that were killed from the census that were carried out by the commission led by the SD of Dogamantu. He also asked me to tell to the family member that yes, we are commemorating the victims today, but maybe later on the family will still organize the funerals. The future of our nation is bright, provided we rely on our government, we rely on our head of state, we become from the grassroots to the highest level peace builder, peacekeeper.
Even as they receive this assistance, their tears still flow. 1 year since the tragedy, the verdict of those arrested in connection with what is today known as the Garbu massacre is still awaited. The affected communities want justice.
And the Bishop of Kumbu Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church, His Lordship George Nku, has called on the people to stand for justice. He urged them to avoid developing revenge, the spirit of revenge. He told them to rather exercise love and reconciliation, but while standing for justice. And speaking during an ecumenical service in Kumbu, he urged the people not to use the incident to worsen the situation already bad in that part of the northwest region of the country. And during that ecumenical service, women of the Justice and Peace Commission came out brandishing messages condemning killings, condemning hate speech, which they say is foiling the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country.
These women of the Justice and Peace Commission of the Kumbu Diocese on February 14th conversed at the St. Theresia Cathedral, dressed in black with peace plants and candles to pray for and remember the 22 civilians massacred in Garbu on February 14th last year.
In a special way, for the repose of the souls of our children, women and men, victims of the Garbu massacre, for whom this mass is offered, and for all that have been killed in the course of this war, that the Almighty Father may be merciful in judging them and grant them a place of rest in His heavenly kingdom.
We thank all the women of different denominations who also adjusted their schedule to come on this day, 14 February 2021, to commemorate the massacre of children and women of Garbu massacre.
They also prayed for haters of peace and love in the two English-speaking regions in particular and Cameroon in general.
The ongoing crisis in our two regions, let us pray for those who perpetuate and propagate violence and inflict pain on others, that God may touch and transform their hearts to see human life as sacred and worthy of protection.
During the ecumenical service, His Lordship Joshua urged all, including victims, to bury revenge and embrace justice and peace.
Remember it, not as friends as maybe, as people who believe, people who have Jesus, people who know that Jesus can heal our wounds, people who know that He invites us to stand with those weak and abandoned people, to those who mourn. That is what we do with faith. We don't do it like pagans who are ready to revenge and to back bad with man. We do it like people who want to stand for the truth, for justice, for peace, for reconciliation, for love of enemies, for love of those who are rejected. That is the spirit in which we are going to do it.
These justice and peace women of the Kumbu Diocese in the Northwest region, to this effect, brandished different messages on placards. Some of them read, "Stop killing innocent women and children. Women are tired of seeing their children and husbands killed. Women want ceasefire and reconciliation. Women want their children to go back to school. Let's stop hate speech. Love conquers enmity. Women need a positive community," and many others. Just like any other compassionate person, these mourning women expect justice to be crowned on killers of the Ngarbo children, women, and men.
The lifeless body of a custom officer who was killed and buried along the road in Mombo in the Mongo Division littoral region of Cameroon has been exhumed, and Colette, as she is called or was called, is said to have been killed by a military officer. Details in this report by Smanjikan Gibre.
The lifeless body of a custom officer by name Colette been exhumed in Mombo, Mongo Division of Littoral Region. Colette was killed by her boyfriend, a military man whose only name we got as Kenneth, last November 2020, and dumped by the roadside where the sanitation department of Mombo Council discovered the unidentified corpse, then buried by the roadside. Colette had a problem on her leg and was killed after she went to Cotonou for a scanning and returned home. She had a problem with her leg, so she left a cock for Bamenda for treatment. On arriving in Bamenda, the doctor wasn't around. Kenneth called another doctor in Douala. While in Douala, she was already getting better, so she had to go back to Cotonou in Benin. On her return, Kenneth went to pick her up without knowing that she called me that she had returned from Cotonou.
He can kill and tram. He no say must have arrived for that Wednesday. He called me for that night. He be arrived. He called me. At the talk say call me around 7:30, 8 o'clock. By computer show say he called me around 18 minutes past 8 o'clock.
Colette and Kenneth had a love affair which has dated for long, but Colette's family says they had never been aware that the military man was married and had kids with his wife.
So Kenneth say go marry my small sister.
He promised to get married to my sister, that he was already married with 3 kids. My junior sister told me before they could go deeply in love, she asked if Kenneth was already married, but he refused. It was when my kid sister had a threat letter that she wanted the relationship to end that Kenneth killed her.
See the way he takes someone, he put name, he put the bikini name. He tell me say, why you go put your bikini name? Because you help me for do me my own thing. Change them, give me my thing, make find a way, let me to find my own, because me I don't losses, you don't only make them, me I never make them. So as he talk so, you know, say the boy don't hold it for hard, for can't kill it like small fowl, throw for road.
After killing Colette, Kenneth pretended not to know her whereabouts and had to call her family members to ask if they have seen her. This is so because after killing the woman, she took away all documents that could easily identify the custom officer making it difficult for the family to do any search.
Her passport
and other identification documents alongside documents of a property have been seized by Kenneth, and he insists only when he's out of prison that he will hand over the documents. The exercise to exhume the corpse of Colette, who was buried several months ago, was supervised by the divisional officer. Meanwhile, Kenneth, the alleged killer, is behind bars.
Days after his liberation, the first vice president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM political party, Mamadou Mota, has reaffirmed his determination to continue fighting for the rights of Cameroonians and for a better Cameroon. He was speaking during his visit to his native Tokumberi town in the far north region of the country, and Mamadou Mota was accompanied by CRM National President Professor Maurice Kamtoa, many militants. Details in this report by Immaculate Fogwe.
The triumphant entry of a former detainee who equally serves as vice president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party, accompanied by the president of the party and other party militants, into the town of Tokumberi in the far north region of Cameroon. After spending 20 months behind bars, Mamadou Yakubu Mota is now free. In honor of his liberation, a meeting is organized in the town of Tokumberi. A mantle of leadership is equally accorded to this iconic political figure.
I promised you all that I will bring back the vice president of the CRM party. We fought so hard for his liberation. He was arrested arbitrarily and detained illegally for 20 months. They wanted to eliminate him from the political scene. Mamadou Mota went to war and he is back, but the war is not yet over.
Youths of Tokumberi describe Mamadou Mota as a model, reason why they had to brave all the obstacles that stood on their way by participating in the grand meeting.
Many of us were asked not to take part in this meeting by some leaders, but we decided to do so because Mamadou Mota is a perfect example of a leader. I am overwhelmed with joy.
Nous sommes en joie, mais la joie est un peu débordante parce que je n'arrive pas bien à parler de Mota. C'est un grand homme, un humaniste, un homme d'esprit.
Mamadou Mota has always been optimistic that Cameroon will become a better place. He is very courageous. He fought a good fight, and he is making the entire population proud.
Il sera fier de nous retrouver dans le dynamisme politique au nom de la.
Il est en train de le payer, il l'a même payé.
He paid a price by spending 20 months in prison. He sacrificed his freedom for us. This is why youth in Tokumberi have decided to support him.
Nous, jeunes de Tokumberi, on va se mobiliser derrière lui.
Mamadou Yakubu Mota has reaffirmed his determination to continue fighting for the rights of Cameroonians and for a better Cameroon.
The University of Ngaoundéré is said to be plagued with an established mismanagement. The institution is faced with close to $1 billion francs CFA deficit, which has made it difficult for the management to pay workers, and there are fears of large-scale embezzlement of funds in that higher institution of learning. For me, Armstrong Sanda reports.
At the University of Ngaoundéré, mismanagement is said to have been established as a way of running things for over the years. Financed at 95% by the state of Cameroon, irregularities have been identified in the execution of public expenditure. The assessment of the financial controller reveals bad practices and indelicacies which are said to have caused the loss of hundreds of francs CFA to the detriment of the smooth running of the university. In 2018, for example, the University of Ngaoundéré was unable to meet its fourth quarter financial commitment and was forced to multiply its borrowing scheme. Another challenge is the refusal of the Ministry of Finance in Cameroon to fill the financial deficit of the institution, insinuating a situation of embezzlement of public funds.
Parce qu'on a des doutes sur la capacité de notre fichier.
Still, according to the financial controller, the institution had to pay a cash penalty of 100 million francs CFA for having levied taxes on operations without paying them to the regional tax services. Amidst the challenges, the rector of the University of Ngaoundéré remains positive.
Dans ce budget de 2021, on va résoudre tous les problématiques des impayés du 4e tranche de 2018.
She will have to source fundings elsewhere to be able to cover the cumulative deficit estimated at over 1 billion francs CFA. Standing on a difficult position, the University of Ngaoundéré now lacks substantial financial means to pay teaching and non-teaching staff. Worse still, the institution lacks funds to complete infrastructural projects which have been abandoned for over the years. During the meeting of board members of the institution, the financial controller asked for strict restrictions on expenditure. Its 2021 budget of 9.3 billion francs CFA will therefore not be able to meet the ever-growing needs of the university, which has about a dozen training institutions under its care.
Out of Cameroon, Guinea has officially declared that it is dealing with an Ebola epidemic after the death of at least 3 people from the virus. The 3 persons and 4 others fell ill with diarrhea, vomiting and bleeding after attending the burial of a nurse. Officials said newly developed vaccines will be acquired through the World Health Organization. Between 2013 and 2016, more than 11,000 people died in the West Africa Ebola epidemic, which began in Guinea, and the epidemic, which mainly affected Guinea and its neighboring Liberia and Sierra Leone. In response, several vaccines were tried, which have since been successfully used to fight outbreaks in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the World Health Organization representative in Guinea, George Ki Zebo, is quoted to have said the World Health Organization is on full alert and is in contact with the manufacturer of a vaccine to ensure the necessary doses are made available as quickly as possible to help fight back. An Ebola vaccine was first trialed over 4 months in 2015 in Guinea, and drugs that can increase the survival rate of patients have also been developed in recent years. The World Trade Organization has appointed Ngozi Ijeawala as its first female Director General. She thus becomes the first woman and first African to hold the role. Dr. Okonzo Ijeawala served as Nigeria's finance minister and worked for 25 years as a specialist in development and economics and the World Bank. She says she can be a clear set of eyes for the global trade body. And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thank you for staying with us in Talking Points. Today we're receiving Barrister Tamfu Richard. He is a member of Cameroon's Bar Association. Thank you, Barrister, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Babila, and good evening to your audience.
We begin with this disturbing video of a young man being severely tortured by men in military, gendarmerie, and police uniforms in Ndu in the Donga-Mantum Division, northwest region of the country. What's your reaction to this video?
Well, my reaction is that we are living a situation which has been forced to us because of bad governance, arrogance, and refusing to discuss with your fellow citizens. We have to live or see those inhumane treatments, and to peel it all, you see, it is coming from our law enforcement officers, which we think should act as professional in such circumstances. That is somebody who is suspected to be either a separatist fighter or a facilitator, but has to go such inhumane treatment, because no person or no area in this world can permit such treatment on a human being. What we just witnessed on that video is to tell you that that is just part of what we are living in Northwest and Southwest region, be it from the separatist fighters themselves who carry on extrajudicial killings, be it for law enforcement officers who carry out barbaric acts. And I think we have already lost so many innocent lives in that manner, and that it was high time that if we were in a government that had sense of humanity, we should think of seeing how we put an end to this nonsense, because I'll call it like that, because there is no place in ruling Cameroon in such a way that we have to live this way. It's regrettable. I have compassion for what he's going through, for what that guy had to go through. Thank God he didn't die. So we are closely following up with him to see how the situation, his rights will be respected, that those who are behind that act should be apprehended and let them face the justice and be properly punished.
Actually, the divisional officer of Ndu has condemned that act of violence and has demanded that the top military, gendarmerie and police officials in that area should investigate the case and punish the perpetrators according to the law. Now, this is happening though the involvement of the Cameroon Security and Defense Forces is yet to be clearly established, though the perpetrators were actually putting on military, gendarmerie and police uniforms. This is coming just a few days after the President of the Republic of Cameroon on the 10th of February praised the military, praised the young people in the military fighting to protect the territorial integrity of Cameroon, fighting to protect the population according to government officials in the two crisis-stricken regions. The head of state said they are professionals.
Yeah, but we are all seeing it on the field. It is true that we will not say all the uniformed men or officers are barbaric. Some of them have a sense of professional ethics, but the few that we have, you see how inhumane they are. So I think when the head of state doing his praises, he should not be general. He should be able to also spot or highlight all those acts committed by his subordinate or his elements, that at times it's not all that way perfect. We have recorded instances whereby we have seen uniformed men carry out extrajudicial killings, inhumane treatment on suspects that they arrest, instead of arresting them and sending them before the law courts for proper justice to be done on them. That's the right thing to be done. So if the due of Ndu has instructed that the perpetrators of that act or of those acts be arrested, it is our wish that those people should be arrested, properly interrogated and tracked before the court of law, whereby we will see justice being served on them, and the person who has been victim be compensated for all the tortures and ill treatment that he received.
What could be the impact of such an incident on efforts to restore peace and normalcy in those two regions?
Yes, the impact is that it will be very difficult to reconcile minds. It will be difficult for people to pardon themselves, because after all the sufferings that these regions have been living, it will not be easy for people to easily just forget like that. So reconciliation will be a very, very difficult task, because people want to avenge, and we really need to go an extra mile to make sure that we are able to reconcile all these killings, maltreatment and poor living in those two regions. I think that's the highest task ahead of us.
And that incident came barely 1 year after about more than 20 persons, including women and children, were killed in Garbu in the same Donga Mantum division. And this is happening at a time when there were some hopes that things could possibly return to normalcy in the two English-speaking regions of the country. Now, the Garbu massacre, 1 year after, the place is still deserted, the place is still empty, and basically nothing is happening there. The people have fled the area.
Yes, it's but normal because after what happened on that 14th of February, with the retaliation or maybe the consequences of that massacre, it is but evident that people will not more live in that area. Everybody is afraid. Everybody is running away. And right now we know that there is an ongoing trial, which the next hearing, which is the 3rd hearing in open court, is on the 18th of February. We expect that justice be served on the victims of Garbo, though some other manipulations or gestures are being made to see how to blindfold the victims. But I will remain, for example, I as a lawyer in the case, will remain focused because we believe that it's only before the law court that will properly have justice and that proper compensation will be given to the victims of Garbo. Because when you follow up what is ongoing, you will see that not all the families of the victims are associated into what is ongoing. So the government has decided to select its own people to work with. The lawyers have not been associated in all what is ongoing, especially to the grant, and not all victims are being taken into consideration. So we believe that what the government is doing its own part, and we expect that it's only before the law courts that will properly see justice being done to them.
What do you think about the efforts that the governor of the Northwest region is putting in to restore life in Garbo, in the areas affected by that incident?
The efforts is appreciated, but not to the standard we expect. When you give 5 million, what is 5 million to bring back life in those areas? I think if actually we really want to make a gesture, we could disburse billions to build comfortable houses for those people, bring administration closer to them, and then things will come back to normal. When you carry 5 million, I'm sure that before the 5 million will even get to the victims, it will be splitted on the way, and at the end of the day, that it will be meaningless. So I think, to me, though you can never refuse what is being given to you, you take and you continue to ask. Government should continue to do more. The people there want to live as they used to be, the peace they used to have, and carry on with their farming activity as they used to have. So that is what government should be interested in doing. How do we bring back peace into those regions? And that can only be possible if we completely bring an end to this ongoing war.
Bringing an end to the ongoing war. Some are calling for negotiations, some are calling for another dialogue, others are calling for ceasefire and all of that. Can all of these things, if they were to be put in place today, maybe a ceasefire, negotiations begin with the separatist leaders, could there be a restoration of normalcy and peace in those regions?
The truth is that there is a lot of economic gains in this ongoing conflict from both sides, and it will be very, very difficult to really come to an end. It really needs a determined and focused leader to come out and hit the hand to say stop. Because when you look at, for 4-5 years that the conflict is ongoing, both sides is not willing to have peace reign. We have every day you witness horrible scenes, be it from the separatists. I heard about that some traditional chiefs in Lebialem were extrajudicially being killed. You see that when people carry out such acts, we have reached a level whereby you see that no party is willing to put an end. The military on its own side boasts himself of winning the war, whereas we are seeing the
arresting and killing separatists.
So I think we really need a determined leader that will really come out as head of state to put an end to this, because all the parties know themselves. We have given all solutions and possible avenues to put an end to the crisis, but like I will always say, it remains on the upper hand of the head of state to really come out strong and poses acts that will really bring an end to this war.
The Bishop of Kumbu, His Lordship George Uko, told the people of Kumbu during an ecumenical service not to develop the spirit of revenge, but rather to exercise love, reconciliation, but they should stand for justice. What do you think about this?
Yes, it is what the clergy should preach. We should be thinking towards that way, because no matter the amount of revenge that you, or the anger that you have to propel, it won't bring back things to normalcy. So we should be having that spirit of forgiveness, reconciliation, if actually we really want to live in peace that we used to have. So that's to me, as Christians, be it from be in Catholics or the Christian faith or the Muslim faith or other denominations, I think the language should be peace, let love lead. That's the only way we can come back and live as a people.
Let love lead the way out of the troubles in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Barrister Tamfu Richard, member of the Cameroon Bar Association, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. The pleasure is all mine.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That will be it for today. Equinoxe is up next.